G'day, guys, and welcome to episode 9 of Bros with Brains with yours truly, Ben Mayfield Smith, or you can find me at Matter Athletica, and my big friend here.
Sup, people? Aaron, as always, Elite Strength. Apparently, we're doing the whole where you can find us now. So, at Elite Strength Coach on Instagram. So,
Spice it up, right? What's up? Make it
it sounds very professional.
You can also find my OnlyFans. It's
it's all feet.
Hey, you want to see my bunions?
Hey, man, it's what the people want. It's what we give them.
Alrighty, so this week we're apparently getting into some things that have got the big man rolled up. But firstly, we'll get started with how you doing, mate? I hear you've I hear you popped a rib doing a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say that was a joke, but nah, I'm joking. I was actually doing. I mean, close enough to a shit. I was doing a hack squat.
It's the most legal version of a public shit you can do, right?
Casual 5 plates aside, just how we roll, bro. I was actually pretty freaking happy with it because I was warming up and everything was moving so smoothly well. And I think my best, when I just look at back at my numbers and stuff, I think I put up a 4-plate hack for 10. That's sort of my gauge. I don't use 1 RMs in bodybuilding. Who would have thought? I use 10 RMs as sort of my way to gauge where I'm at. And I'd done, so my best had been a 4, I'm sure it was a 4-plate, looking back at my Instagram, a 4-plate hack squat at the local gym, Doherty's. And it had been a solid 10 reps. I was like, oh, this felt pretty hard, but pretty good. Probably RIR, maybe 1 to 2 max-ish. Mm-hmm. So not a true 10 RM, but, close to.
Close to.
And I'd actually put on the equivalent of 4 plates on this hack squat, and I busted out 14 reps or something, 15 reps. I think I'd done 15 reps. I was like,
very nice.
I'm feeling real good. So I obviously added more weight because don't be stupid. Don't be logical. I put another plate on each side, busted out 5 plates.
Stick to the plan or add increased weight.
Yeah, I was like, I was supposed to do a back off set, and I'm like, no, I'm going to do a top set again. So fuck it. Put it on 5 plates aside, and I think it was rep 6, rep 7. I'm like, whoop. There goes my rib, but it subluxes all the time. So it's I kind of know when it happens, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything else that's going to be too stressful or straining on the body. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll just finish my workout. And then I stupidly did upper body the next day, but whatever.
Yeah. I'll put it back in place.
Now it's good. I can breathe. We're fine.
Just puncturing my lung for 3 hours, not a big deal.
Yeah, 3 days, but same. That's fine. I only need one long. How do you get
that back in place? Does it just correct itself, or do you pop it in?
Yeah, I'd get treatment for it.
Right.
You can literally feel it. The guy that I've been seeing, I've been seeing him for 4 years. He knows it. When I first did it, he's kind of like, oh yeah, cool. We can work around this. And every time it does, I just sort of walk in. I'm like, yeah, rib. He's like, all right, table. I'm just like, cool. Yeah. He's starts loosening off because everything seizes up around the rib. And muscles are tight as shit. And then obviously it's just a protective mechanism, and then loosens everything off. And it's just oh yeah, he can actually he took a photo of it once. You can see it protruding slightly, it's just a lump. It's so slight, it's because my back is really jacked, so it's you can't really tell. It kind of looks like a muscle, so it's okay. But he knows.
Humble brag over here.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I've had a triple shot coffee, so let's fucking do this now. And then he's put his hand on the. You could feel it, and it's sensitive as soon as you touch it. And I'm like, oh yeah. And he's like, all right, take a deep breath. It's and breathe out, and but the thing is, you hear it, I feel it, and I'm just like, oh, I can breathe. we're back. Yeah. So it's a nice handy feeling to be able to breathe again.
Look, I don't doubt that's a privilege that we take for granted.
Yeah.
I've never noticed how much I what's the word? The first time I ever had a sinus infection, it was roughly 2 months ago, and I had never. The day I felt it, it was completely gone. I'd never had so many breaths in my life where I just stopped and appreciated breathing. I was like, oh, is this the sexual equivalent of breathing right now?
Yeah, it's just that.
That's the climax.
It's it's they would say appreciate the little things. It's
literally appreciate being able to breathe.
Appreciate the basics, being able to breathe, fresh, clean air.
So what else is going on, mate? Melbourne's a bit of a shit fire. We probably won't get into that too much because, fucking every every other week is going to be about it. So I mean,
honestly, the funniest meme is the one that I sent to you of white chicks, like New South Wales, like claiming they're the most fucked up state. And it's like, hold my poodle, Victoria, hold my poodle. Like, yeah, literally, it's.
The best bits are just seeing like South Australia, Northern Territory, just like on their own chilling, being like, I don't know what's going on. Is there shit going on? I don't know.
Tassie as well. Like no one's
doing our own thing. For nothing happened here.
Tasmania never even got COVID, bro. They're just chilling. They're just kicking.
It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, being a boring state is fine. Is boring until being a boring state means you don't have lockdowns and you aren't fucking full of random shit like riots. Like that's right. We'll take the boring state.
Yeah, 100%. Like fucking, like I said, who's heard from Tasmania? No one. I don't even know.
Who's from Tasmania?
I don't know what's going on down there, bro. I've actually got a couple of clients down there. I don't even ask. I should ask them. Like, hey man, what's actually going on? They're going to the gyms, no masks. Like, no one cares.
Well, technically, it's still 1975 back there, so they're worried about the collapse of the Berlin Wall. I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, fucking probably.
They just started hearing about this thing called the internet.
Yeah, give me that any day of the week at the moment.
Yeah, fair. So I keep saying, guys, Tasmania is a beautiful, beautiful place. I can't actually wait to go there. I do want to experience.
Yeah, fucking ready to move to a tropical fucking island. I mean, if I can't find a tropical
island. Does that count as a tropical island though? Because it's kind of like close to the Antarctic.
No, I was going to say I'd want to move to a tropical island, but I'll settle for Tasmania.
Oh, right. It's the version of a tropical island when your mum says you have it home.
Yeah, pretty much. I want to move to a tropical island. We have a tropical island at home, Tasmania.
It's the Aldi version of a tropical island.
Hey, man, don't knock on Aldi. It's more like the not quite right.
It's more like the best version of Tim Tams.
Yeah, fucking oath.
It's chocolatey coated biscuits, but it's not the same.
It's close, but not the same.
Yeah, basically. So how's the rest of training going?
Yeah, good. It's been nice to be able to get back into some real training again, dude. I'm just fucking still in this deficit, still in this cut. Dropped another casual kilo. Fucking kill me, but that's all right. I actually don't mind. I don't mind dieting, to be honest. It's just more so everyone that I'm sort of around, they're all going through their growth phases because they
the best time.
Yeah, because they'd grown, because they'd sort of prepped for season B of this year, and obviously season B didn't happen. They're all, able to eat a ton of food, move like a lot of weight, have a lot more energy in the gym, that sort of stuff. And it's like, obviously when you're dieting down, like you can still put a good training session in, don't get me wrong. It's just not the same quality in a growth phase, obviously, when you have a ton more energy and you can really push, which is what obviously what I like to do, and I think what most people prefer to do, right, is push the weight where they can. So being able to like keep up and, have that energy to keep up, because I'm good for maybe a set. Good
I got this, guys. I don't got this, guys.
Yeah, like good luck getting 4 solid sets out of the same exercise. So being really just playing around with the top set and a back off, unless the top set moves real well and I'm feeling good, like the hack squat, then I'll do an extra set, and my second set being a bit heavier and sort of less reps. So just playing around with it on the compounds and taking sort of accessories close to failure, if not to failure, where I can. And it's really just about getting energy out at the moment so I can cut. But yeah, weight's starting to really fall off now, which is nice. So hopefully not too long. And then I can get back to eating. Yeah, it's not even the eating, man. Like I said, it's more so just the training, like being able to really push training. So obviously the food is what fuels it. But I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to most, not so much the whole eating side of things, but more so the ability to train hard and, get good gains, really. The game.
Correct. How you finding you guys? Well, firstly, you guys are back in the gym. That's the main thing.
No, we're not back in the gym. No, not till the 5th of November. No. I just happen to know some people that know some people.
I thought you guys had the 10.
No, I'm lucky. I've got an exemption to train, basically.
Fair cop. What's the ring?
So I'm lucky in that aspect. I was
getting excited for you, and I was like, oh, okay.
No, that's why I don't promote it or put it on my stories and my Instagram and that sort of stuff. It's like I do have the exemption. It's just obviously I feel bad. Well, I just feel bad. I feel bad for people that can't train, and it's like, some of us are very, very fortunate, like in that this is our job, and we have these little gray areas and loopholes where like you don't want to take advantage of it, but at the same time, I mean, if you can do it because someone else will. So
exactly, it's one of those things at the moment. Like, it's like perspective, and you put yourself in another person's shoes. But at the same time, if you can take little wins right now, fucking take it.
Yeah, and it's like we do have apparently a roadmap out. So 5th of November is when it would appear people can enter the gymnasium to train.
It's through a canyon and down a fucking shaft, and then you can maybe come up the other side. Maybe.
Yeah, and then it's on the other side in the basement. So, but yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, look, I do have my gym in my garage. So
Yeah.
I do toss up between the two. It's just if I can, based on time and stuff. So obviously very, very busy at the minute.
Yes, fair cop, busy man. But got your seminar about to go off and whatnot.
Yeah, class tomorrow to launch. So been dicking around with putting the slides on Canva, and then I've got to work out if I can actually make sure Canva actually works.
They're all star wipes, guys. It's just a PowerPoint of a bunch of star wipes.
No, not it. I wish. I'm tempted. I'm tempted to put them on.
God, there's got to be at least one star wipe.
So people appreciate old school.
Yes.
Because no one uses PowerPoint, I don't think, anymore. Everyone uses like Google, Google Slides or something? I don't even know, bro. I'm not, I don't care. The first presentation I ever did was on fucking Microsoft Paint. And then it was on, and then, PowerPoint came out and that was revolutionary. So everything was done on fucking PowerPoint.
Hey, mine were done when the teacher brought out your projector for the slide screen. Bro, that's how you got educated back in the day. None of this.
Dude, that's like when the teacher wheeled in the TV with the VCR.
everyone starts flipping cables.
You knew you're in for a good day.
It's either a substitute teacher or you're getting a wheeled in TV. Yes, what a day.
Yeah, this is going to be an epic day.
Tell us you're around 30 without telling us you're around 30.
Yeah, bad. Like, tell me how old you are without telling me how old you are. But yeah, that's all I've been doing, man. Prepping for this seminar and should be fun. Tomorrow, I think I've got 13 people bought tickets. I don't know how many are going to rock up on the call versus how many are actually going to want the download, obviously, or the file sent to them. So I'll see how we go from there and still keep going, go from there.
Awesome.
Nice and easy.
Right. It's a good starting number, good starting point.
Yeah. So it should be fun. Just get it done, talk shit. I'm surprised everyone actually wanted, out of all the things that I gave an option for, I'm surprised biomechanics was the big one. Like, I think I had biomechanics, nutrition, anatomy, and I want to say I had biology on there. And everyone sort of straight away went biomechanics. It won by a landslide. I'm like, oh, righto.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, there's like, I would say people presumptively assume they have a grasp of nutrition and the leg is this and the arm is this. So I guess like at least understanding more movement patterns probably a smarter approach for a lot of people. You see a lot of coach. I mean, like there's videos I've sent you where you see people like explaining how something works. You're just like, the fuck are you talking about? That is not that.
That ain't it.
That ain't it. Here's where you want to be, and you're way over here.
Yeah, you done fucked up. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
So it makes sense, I guess.
Well, yeah, man. How's training been? Good. Have fun.
Man, it's good. It's actually Dolts. We've mixed up the program now because we're obviously with Matter and business sort of taking off and get into that. I'm probably going to push back prep till season B next year, as we've spoken about before.
I like it.
So it's going to give me more time for really getting recomposition and not affect my energy levels for business to take off. Obviously, last thing you want to do is start a new business has been a complete deficit and fucking brain depletion.
That's not fun.
So
this means just take a ton of modafinil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, do not do that. Instead, do Ritalin. I'm kidding. Don't do either.
I don't have 10 grand for a supply of modafinil. That's what I would like to use. So, but yeah, so no, we've changed everything up. Got a new program in place, which is fun. A bit more pump and volume, like metabolic volume instead.
I like it.
So got some nice heavy working top sets, RPs of 9s, 8s, and that sort of thing with back offsets. That's how I really tried playing with back offsets, which is fun. Actually getting a bit of extra volume after feeling like I finished. So that's nice, isn't it?
It's just fun.
Yeah, it's a fun one because I can push some heavy weight and then go, all right, well, the heavy weight is done. I can back off and sort of see how I'm feeling. Dolt wants a bit of self-regulation. So looking more at say how I'm feeling for the back offset. So
of course,
if I'm feeling good, we'll do an extra 3 sets. If I'm feeling pretty average from low food or time of training after work, something, I might only do 1 back offset. But
it's just like maintain at the moment until you move to your next phase, whether it be a cut or whether it be growth, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna look at from what we've spoken about, periodically moving through recomposition next year. So because it's going to be the first time we've ever worked together where I haven't had it's not physically demanding job, being in a position of like management role and like that constant anxiety of being by your phone and by business and that sort of shit, it's cognitively stressful. And
of course.
It's just stress, disrupting and like anxiety causing. And as we know from like what I said last week, like my anxiety was getting up there. So having this period where although I'll be stressed for business, it's towards something that I really love and am passionate about.
It's almost like a positive stress, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I can justify being up late and tired and exhausted, but that stress isn't going to accumulate the same way as like negative stress. So it should have a pretty interesting effect on metabolic rates, my recovery, my composition, my rebuild. So he wants to see how we go composition wise without having such drastic calorie increases or such drastic deficits. And see if I can actually start to recomp rather than massive drop down to mid 90s, recomp around 100, 105. So I think we're 2 weeks in. I've dropped, or would it be a week in actually? Went from 110 down to 105.9, 106. So I mean,
recomp done.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean,
hey guys, this is what Dalton's selling. How to lose 5 kilos in 1 week.
Yeah, well, that's the funny part. Like people get me when they like get caught up with like I want to lose an X amount of weight because I mean it's such an structured food consumption, but also the size and volume of the food, the amount of calories you're eating, all that's so easy to manipulate. And
people don't take into account actual food volume, like what sits in your stomach, how much weight sits in your stomach. And it's like, honestly, like weigh yourself before you go do number 2 and then weigh yourself after. Especially when you're eating copious amounts of food.
And also the fact that I'd say I was easily pushing 4 kilos of food, something like that. It would take all metrics of liquids, all metrics of veggies and salads and total food cooked weights, probably be taking in 4 kilos of food over a day when you're hitting 6,000 calories. And that's just got to sit in your guts until it comes out. Yeah,
for sure. I feel you.
So yeah, makes sense. But yeah, it's not bad so far. I tell you what, I feel just less bloated. That's the best part. I'm training on 3,500 calories a day at the moment. But I got a feeling as recomp starts to happen, that's probably going to go up, not down, because training intensity's up, funds back in the gym. Supplements aren't even anything crazy, but they're good. So, I mean, I'd be surprised if the recomp calorie base doesn't actually go up rather than go down.
Yeah, nice. Are you playing with anything fun in terms of compounds?
No. Bit of a boring back off phase, really.
Yeah, it's like me.
Yes, so much fun.
Well, you could
everything in me.
You could do my trick and just ask your coach to just take absolutely obnoxiously stupid shit and run at a crazy high deficit so you get off faster. This is why we have coaches.
Look, I'm all for that. I'm the first guy to say, let's just do fucking rude, disgusting levels of depletion and lack of food. I'll do that for 3 to 4 weeks. And
then move back to growing.
Aggressively eat again.
Yeah, and this is after dropping a kilo in a week, and coach is like, why? When we've had a really good week and all we need to do is do it again. And I'm like, yeah, it's what I say, but I'm just curious, right? Just let me have my fun.
Do the thing that got the one result and just repeat that 10 times and we'll get lean. Yeah, but I want to do it faster.
It's like, but I want it now.
Pretty much, yeah. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it, man. So for me, it's keeping that probably consistent for a while and getting just back in the period of eating consistently, breaking up protein as I need to, and getting the calories I want or we need, just while business takes off and go from there.
Simple, easy, effective.
It's actually been cool because I've had a few people reach out already, express some interest, people interested in some recomposition, but also some lifestyle change. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty overwhelming, but the people are actually waiting or looking forward to that, but that's cool.
Yeah, well, it'll be good to see once you launch and all that stuff, what happens. And I'm sure you'll take off pretty fucking quick. I have no doubt.
I mean, I've seen some shit there where I'm just like, how do I get stressed? Like I said the other night, how am I conscious and anxious about being successful in this game again? And then see these people out there that are doing this shit and you're just like, how are you successful in this business?
Yeah, because they show asses and abs.
Oh, yeah. Pretty much,
boobs, depending on, who they are. It's either guys showing abs or girls showing bum or boobs, usually.
Yep. Equals anatomical knowledge, nutritional knowledge, psychological interventions, and behavior therapies. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's literally how Instagram works, bro. It's not what you know, it's how you look. Do you not know this? Fucking stupid. Don't be logical.
Right. Before we fucking talk too much shit, I want to get fucking the big man. I want to get the big man rolled up.
He's going to try and get me trying. Apparently, I've already been told that I'm unemotional on this podcast. Yes. So, what do you want me to do? You want me to flip some tables? Shoot? I'm the
one who gets worked up here, and it's bullshit. I'm sick of it. Everyone thinks I've got emotional disorders.
You do. No, I'm just too old to get fucking.
Well, they're not wrong. It's just I want to get you there too. I'm sick of being the only one getting off here. I like a team play.
You were talking about the same thing, or
no?
Getting off and teams, right? If that's what we're into, guys. Our podcast has now changed. We're not talking about training and nutrition anymore. We're talking about orgies.
So it's along the lines of prefaces, along the lines of client jumping and coach swapping. I want to know what you meant and where we got to it from.
So for reference, I just put up a Instagram post a story saying that it's interesting to see how clients like to coach jump a lot. Not my clients, just clients in general, of other coaches, obviously, to jump coaches so consistently and so quickly that the coach that they've invested in initially just doesn't get a result with them. And it's kind of like, well, you haven't given them the time. It's like, well, depending on obviously the goal. And don't get me wrong, sometimes a client can be unlucky in that they just don't, gel with the coach. Like, it happens. Like, I feel like that's more of a screening thing. To be honest, that's probably on the coach. Don't take clients if you don't get along with them, or if you don't feel that they're the best fit, even though you may need the money, which again, I think we'd spoken about in one of the other podcasts, the roundtable with Tavi, because he's probably going to have to take clients at some point that he's not going to want to take to build his income. And then obviously as the income builds, you can start to wash off clients that you don't want to coach anymore. But it's just like these guys are also coaches themselves. The ones that I've seen, it's heavy more so in powerlifting that I was talking about in terms of that post, not so much physique or bodybuilding, which I know it does happen.
Very prevalent.
It does happen in body. Yeah, it definitely happens in bodybuilding. I just haven't seen it as much in bodybuilding, to be honest. Yeah. Just from, who I follow and, all that sort of stuff on Instagram. It's more so powerlifting and just watching clients, people jump coaches like every 3 to 6 months. And especially with something like powerlifting, it's like, bruh, you're in lockdown for starters. It's like, you're not going to be getting many gains with any coach that you have unless you have access to a full
that's
gym.
interesting.
It's like, bruh, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, are you looking for a cheaper deal? It's kind of like, if you can't afford to stay with your coach, let your coach know. There's usually a high chance that your coach will make some sort of amendments for you if you want to stay on and, give them your everything. The only time I can only really see clients jumping, it's kind of like, well, either the coach got the result that you wanted and you're wanting to try something different. It's like, that's fair. No coach will ever, I don't think any good coach would be mad at that, like, at all. Like, I've had clients that I've had them for 2 years and they're like, I'm good, man. Like, I don't need it. I was like, bro, I agree with you. Go to fucking stop annoying me. Piss off. Yeah. like, I love you, but I'm sick of you. Go. Yeah. Like,
reach out to take it. Hey, send a message. But
you know what I mean? It's like when you want something that I can help you with, please, the door's always open. Come on. Yeah. That you have a bad experience with the coach, obviously, like, makes sense. Move on. Makes complete and utter sense. Like, I just don't see the reason why all these people keep jumping coaches so fast, because they're not getting a result so quick. It's just like, man, what do you think you're going to get 100 kilos on your squat in 3 months? Like what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like,
you're not even giving the coach a chance to get through a block that's like appropriately programmed to get your result, right? Like, even in 3 months, if it's like, what are you hoping to gain in that 3 months that you're actually going to progress in a way that is tangible, that you can say, oh, this guy wasn't very good, I should leave.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I do wonder also if the client, most of the time, looking from what I've seen, the clients are coaches themselves, and it's kind of like, are they just getting coaches that don't agree with what they want? And it's like, that's okay, then coach yourself. Like, yeah. If you keep trying to go to coaches and coaches aren't giving you what you want, because they probably think that what you want is stupid or probably not best for you, because 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. And that's why we have coaches, just like my example of me asking my coach if I could take every drug under the sun so I can get lean really, really fast, which I know is a very bad idea. So don't do that. But like I said, like, my coach, it's funny because in that conversation, my coach was like, I wouldn't advise it, but if you want to do it, you can tell me to get fucked and we can do that. And I'm like, no, you're the boss. I'll trust you. Like, it's kind of the whole point.
I think I'm paying you money. I signed up to you. We've gotten results this far.
And that's what I'm sort of saying. It's kind of like these, guys and girls jumping coaches every fucking 3-6 months. It's like, you're a waste of time. Like, and it's a waste of time to the coach, especially if the coach is a really nice guy or girl, like, right, nice person, wants to put effort in and wants to give you the best result possible. And that, they're taking the time to set you up and get you on board, and you've just wasted their time. It's like, it's a client that, they've picked you over another potential client to bring on board, and it just hasn't worked. It's like, fuck, man, like, do yourself a favor and just not sign up in the first place. Yeah.
I mean, how many of those guys are also probably looking at stealing methods or modalities, like, as well? Like, that's something I've seen occur, and people like taking forms and programming.
Very, very, big thing that happens, especially with a lot of new coaches that come on or into the field, and they want to learn methodologies and stuff like that, but that's okay. Personally, like, I would love to teach. I love teaching coaches Like I love educating. That's kind of why I do like my seminars and all that sort of stuff. Like I love educating, and I've got my mentorship coming out next year, which is literally this exact thing. Mentoring. Like I send you my check-in sheets and run you through everything. So you see what it is that I do, so you can maybe get a gauge for what you want to do.
It was so
I'm educating. Yeah, that's horrible. Don't do that. I got it from my coach, but whatever. But you know what I mean? It's kind of like, like I had my original check-in sheet that I had. I used it for years. It was pretty basic. It gave me all the data that I wanted. And then obviously in the meantime, I've had coaches. Like I had a very popular coach in the US, right? His check-in wasn't anything flash. Like it was an email check-in, had a couple of questions, fill them in every week. It's like, cool. But that works for him because he's the coach and that's all he needs. Yeah. Right. And then I got my current coach. His check-in sheet is literally the one that I built mine off. Yeah. So I asked him, I'm like, hey, dude, do you mind if I use your check-in sheet as a template for what I want to build mine from? I actually just asked him, I'm like, like yours is really, really good and has a lot of shit that I want that I don't currently have. Do you mind if I transport it and, mix and match it to make it mine? It's kind of like that old copy and paste, but copy and paste to make it suit what I want. Yeah, exactly. But the first thing I did was ask him. Exactly. And I offered to pay him. I'm like, dude, I'm happy to give you money for your check-in sheet because it's a good check-in sheet and it works for me. Do you mind if I, he's like, bro, don't even think about paying me. He goes, just copy and paste it. So I played around with his and made it my own and added my sheet into it. So I've amalgamated the two, but I've amalgamated my check-in sheet from all the coaches that I've had. Yeah. So like, this is where we start. Like, ask, and I'm happy to educate people. So if these coaches are coach jumping because they're trying to build systems or learn systems, just ask the fucking coach. Do a consult call with the coach and they'll probably tell you like, yeah. I mean, and the other thing too is that you know that meme where they go, pretty much, right? Yeah. It's me like every day this week. This week hasn't been me. Like if anyone, like obviously you're never going to watch YouTube because we're both ugly and we're voices for radio. The meme with the guy is Italian, but I don't want to say he's the black guy, but he's Italian. He puts his hands out like that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm Italian, so same thing. But like the other like. I guarantee if you just message them and asked, hey, I noticed you do this, or perhaps you do this. What did you think about this? They would say, look, I'm busy at the moment. Why don't you book in a call and we'll fucking talk about it? Yeah, you may have to spend $50 or $100 or something for that hour, but that then means that you don't have to go just try and spend 6 different coaches to steal some shit and hopefully it works. But also, how much of your modalities and stuff come from just experience of coaching and like, oh, fuck, my first clients, I can't believe I missed this and I wasn't thinking about asking this question. Now I do it and I get better results. Like, yeah, it's trial and error and people spending money, but at the same time, you're never going to have a perfect place to start. That's like definitely the place for me that I realized like I'm never going to have a perfect place to start, but starting gets you further than if you don't start at all. Fucking oath. And it's funny that it's really weird. It's kind of like this shift. I've had a lot of coaches, like newbie sort of coaches, like not so much yourself being already experienced, but obviously not having not the system, or maybe the systems in the back end to try and work out what to do. Right. I've had quite a few good coaches sort of reach out and they're wanting to get a bit bigger in the online space. And they're kind of like to me, like, can we do a consult and talk about, a few things? And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm like, fucking don't be stupid, easy. Like, I'm not the person to go to because I don't do this shit. I guess I've got an idea. And they're sort of like, how do I start? Like, what do I do? And the funny thing is that I've said to everyone, including yourself, it's just once you start getting clients and start doing the work, you're going to find that you evolve as a coach and your check-in process and all your processes for programming, check-ins, line of thinking, everything evolves because not every client's the same, and every client that presents with a different problem, you're going to have to address. And then you're going to be able to assess whether you put that in on a check-in sheet for everybody, because it could be something that's very common. Something as simple as fucking bloating. Yeah. Like it's in my check-in sheet. Like, hey, do you bloat? Because both male and female people bloat. It's like, okay, well, let's have a look at what food's doing it, what's potentially causing it. Like that might be a bit too in-depth for some people that don't need it. 100%, I agree. But for the medium that I work in, it's a question that's relevant because it's common across a ton of clients. So, but I didn't have that in my check-in 6 months ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, like that was newly added because it'd be, hey, how are we feeling? Oh, I feel a bit bloated today. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, actually, there's a couple of clients feeling the same way. Maybe I'll put that in there as part of the check-in to say, hey, what days did you feel bloated and what foods did you eat that potentially cause that? Oh, look, that food identified. Take it out. Oh, look, you're not bloated anymore. Like pretty straight fucking forward logic. But it evolved over time.
Yep.
I've been online coaching for 4 years. I've been coaching for 10 plus years. Like, it's taken me 10 plus years to get to where I am now.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, give it time, like enjoy the actual process and enjoy the journey and learn, because that's when you're going to learn the most.
Yeah. And I think too, clients will appreciate the honesty of like, I'm learning this with you. Like it's something that like your body's new to me. So learning how it responds, I can't give you like, sure, you can spend $100 and go to every other 12-week coach program and say, this coach promised me this in 6 to 12 weeks. But every time you have to repeat the same process. I mean, you might get 6 weeks in, you might get 4 weeks in and fail, pull out, drop out. It's not who you like, the coach you wanted. So you ended up spending $600 or $700 or $800 anyway in all these different challenges, as opposed to sticking with a coach who's like, yeah, it might take me an extra time to actually take the time to understand your body and understand how these things work. But I want to do that, and I want to get the best result for you by understanding all the processes, the systems your body goes through and the way it reacts. And they're going to, like, most clients will probably appreciate the fact that you're being diligent as you are and trying to understand it as much as possible.
Man, it's the best thing. And it's honestly like the best example I can give. I should have him on as a joke, but my first ever online client, I've still got him. Darcy, he'll tell you the evolution of my coaching.
Yeah.
He actually posted about it. He's just like, man, like, yeah, as I evolve and get better, it's because my coach evolves and gets better. It's like, well, yeah, like if I ever showed you my first sheet track, like my own first programming sheet to him, you'd fucking laugh. It's literally XL with 2 columns, or like 3 columns, exercise sets and reps.
Yes.
Like that's it. Like literally.
And it was all 3x10, chest day, back day.
Yeah. And I thought I was really special because I color coded them. So I color coded the chest day, or like the push day and the pull day. Like I thought, man, I'm living the dream. I'm next level right now. Like that was my thought process.
I'm changing this shit.
Yeah. Right. But it's like, I've shown you my programming template. How fucking simple is it?
Yeah.
I've used that template for 3 years. I don't need to change it. It's like, why do I need to change it? Why do I need to make it look more pretty? My clients understand it. They can read it. They get the idea and they get fucking results.
Yeah, 100%. And like in that way too, like just because your system isn't changing or getting any more, I guess, special, doesn't mean your education isn't. Like you finding a way to make things simple as fuck and still get results means that you're learning things, understanding them, and applying them in a simple way that your clients can appreciate. So like I think I saw Revive Stronger, that guy, I can't remember his name. He was posting about a client ghosting him. I saw a reel he put up about a client ghosting him for paid for 4 weeks or whatever it was, got his download sheet and everything for like his check-in form and just left, took it, didn't fill out anything, didn't respond to him, just took it and bailed. So it's like, you can have the greatest system in the world. Like you can have all of these like cool programs and templates and layout sheets that you can give to clients. But if you don't understand the information you're getting back or the results you're getting back or what the fuck they're saying through feedback, it doesn't mean shit.
No, exactly right. And I to be honest with you, I was one of those coaches at the start where it's like, I wanted to have the best of the best systems. Yeah. Like I think we all do. We always just, because we want the best, one for ourselves and two for our clients, because you think that it creates buy-in from a client. Yeah. Man, I'm telling you now, it doesn't. Most of the clients don't care what your shit looks like, provided they can use it and they understand it. It doesn't matter how fucking fancy it is. And it's like, I remember looking at like Dalton's one when I used to work with him. I was like, man, this check-in sheet is fucking sick. Like it's so like the formulas in it and like all this crap. I was like, man, but then I'm looking at it, I'm like, I couldn't use that. Like I couldn't apply that. Like that doesn't work for me. Yeah. Like I'm simple man. Like I'm not nerd like Dalton. Like I'm nerd, but I'm not super nerd like Dalton. Nerd. Yeah. He's Dalton, Rain Man. Like, like there's just levels to this shit. And he's like the upper echelon, right? Yeah. So it's like him using that sheet for him makes sense because he can do what he needs to do off it. I couldn't do that. There's no chance. Yeah. So what do? I have my own fucking sheet that I use and I think I get fairly good fucking results. So it's like, hey, this works for me and my clients. And it's like every sheet should be unique in that, everyone that has their own little finer touches. Yeah, they'll kind of look the same. It's kind of like programming, especially if you have 2 clients that have the same goal and everyone's like, oh, it needs to be super fucking individualized. It's like, yeah, to a point. Yeah. Sometimes you can give a client the same program if they train the same way in the same gym with the same equipment. It's kind of like, hey, you guys are similar goals, similar weights, similar presentations, try it. Let's see what happens. Oh, this phase, this worked for you, but didn't work for you. Here's where I'll start to change some things. Yeah. So it's like the skeleton of the program is pretty similar to each client, yet the individual exercises may vary slightly. Yeah. It's like, fuck, man. Like you have 50 clients, you think you're going to write 50 individual programs. Like, but when I say individual, I mean like completely and utterly different. It's not going to happen. Like there's going to be some similarities. Like it's just how it is. Like there's only so many exercises you can get.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
There's
like,
only so many ways.
What are you going to do? Like you're going to do 10 exercises. Let's say it's 10 exercises per fucking client. You got 50 clients. You got to do 500 different friggin' things. Nah, it's the 500 exercises, bro. Like fucking, what are you talking about? It's where it's like I think I have a gripe with also coaches do like they promote individualized programming. It's like I fucking oath, 100% individualized program based on like you, but doesn't mean you are not too dissimilar to someone else.
Yeah.
It's like there are going to be some similarities. It's just how it is. It's life.
Yeah, 100%. Like you're not gonna get someone who's going to be like, if you've got two people who are wanting to go through a hypertrophy block who have very similar structures in a category, say they want to do a bodybuilding prep, there's only so much that you can differentiate. Like if they're both bodybuilders, they're going to need specific tapers. They're going to need their frames might vary slightly, but if they're pretty similar in structure, they're going to have similar movement patterns. They're going to have similar mechanisms. They're going to have similar overloads. They're going to have similar stimulus. Maybe one's willing to push a little harder so their strength increases, but at the same time, the general program is probably going to look very similar.
Yeah, exactly right. You'd find that the exercise selection probably isn't too different, but then you'd probably find the actual reps, sets, and style of set is probably going to be a little bit different based on the client, right? Because you can start looking at you or me, for example. Let's say we have to bring up our calves because we probably do, but it's like, hey, I might do rest pause sets because that's what I like and what works for me, and you may just do straight sets to 20 reps. It's like, we still have to do the same. We're both still doing standing calf raises. We're both still using the same weight. It's like, you know what I mean? So it's like when people are like, oh, it's super individualized programming. It's like, well, yes and no. It's like the exercise selection is probably very similar. It's probably just the different ways and you implement different intra-set style training, just how it works, like set intensifiers and all that sort of stuff, which is what I like to play with.
Yeah. And that takes time to learn for sure. But also like, you can't just grab every client and go, right, we're going to do cluster sets mixed with failure sets, mixed with tempo sets. Like when you get a brand new client, you don't know what the fuck they respond to.
Yeah, exactly right. You got to set the minimums. And it's like, that's what I do with every client. Like all my new clients that have come on board and have fucking got yoked. I'm like, man, we're literally doing minimum sets, bro. We're doing like 80 sets a week.
Yep.
I'm like, we're getting this big on 80 sets a week. I'm scared. I'll give you an extra set here and there and you're just going to blow up. Like, fuck, man.
Yeah, that's the thing with drugs, with food, with everything is like minimum effective dose, right? Like you don't need to go, or at least minimum effective recovery. You don't need to go crazy, hit them with 30 different exercises with 30 different sets or reps each, and then being like, oh my God, like how do you then control for the fact that one part of that didn't work? How do you know which part did work, which part didn't? You got 70 different variables going on over 20 different program styles, all clustered into one workout, and you're like, yeah, my program got him jacked. No, you just threw in a bunch of shit and hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly right. And then add in fucking enhancement practices and off we go.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. You failed every single set of every single exercise, so there was something bound to work.
Yeah, right. Anyway, people are stupid. No. It's always going to be my sign off. People are stupid.
the bros of the brain sign off sheet. Yeah, people are stupid.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's what it is. What it is, man. It's just like I don't understand why clients. I don't understand why people coach jump so frequently if there's no actual problem with the coach.
Yeah,
that's probably the best way to put it. You have a problem with the coach, 100%. Please leave. Like I get it. That makes complete sense. I get it. If you don't have an actual problem with the coach and you're just worried about the result and you only given it 3 months, unless that coach has obviously promised like, oh yeah, you're going to have some result in 3 months, but you haven't got it, then I'd be asking for my money back. That's a different story. Yes. But that's a different story, right? That's completely different. Like powerlifting and hypertrophy and, even cutting, bodybuilding, like these take time. If you think 3 months is enough time, then you're probably a little bit delusion. I
think that's a huge issue with like the social normality of expecting instant gratification as well. Like it's
because we have all these 8-week, 10-week, 12 challenges, right?
Getting into someone's head, especially if they want a general recomposition and actually start to progressively overload into a hypertrophy program that will get them to stage or get them to a point where they can decide if they want to stage or not. Versus say someone who's like, yep, do my 12-week challenge, we'll get you shredded for summer. They're two very different things, but someone will look at the outcome and go, well, that means I want to get shredded. I should do that. So why can't your program get me shredded in 12 weeks? Like, I can get you fucking shredded in 6 weeks, to be honest. It's not going to be fun. You're not going to learn anything or enjoy it. you're probably not going to have much muscle tissue, but it's also not going to get you to the actual goal you want either.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's just like, create the scenario for them and say, hey, how bad do you want it and what are you willing to sacrifice, right? It's like, hey, yeah, you want to get shredded in 3 weeks. Oath, we can do that. You're just not going to eat for 2.
Yeah. Your calories will suck.
Yeah, your diet is ice cubes and diet right cordial.
We're going to do protein-sparing fasting for 2 straight weeks, nothing but 3 shakes a day. You're going to have very horrible bowel movements. You're going to do a shit ton of output, but hey, you got shredded in 3 weeks. That was your goal.
Exactly right. So anyway.
One thing I did want to dive into a bit about, because I think we'll save the MyFitnessPal thing till next week, and I really get a chance to dive into the data a bit more, because I don't want to half-ass that one. I know that we're going to be here for an hour to talk about that one.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
We both got a lot to say on that one.
Yeah, but like I said, read the research. I've read it.
Oh yeah, like the research I've started and seen and gotten into, and you keep hearing people talk about how validated it is and how great it is instantly subjective, and you're just like, oh. Yeah,
once you start looking at actual research methods, it's just and this is the thing that I have a problem with when coaches in general across the board. Like evidence-based. It's like, yeah, man, I was the first to promote that I'm evidence-based, but it's also like, don't be so evidence-based that you're not using anything that's not in the evidence. It's kind of like there are some things that we don't have evidence for just yet that seems to work across a bigger scale. So it's obviously using your fucking brain and being a bit more of a critical thinker and thinking, hey, there's no real evidence to support this yet, but for some unknown weird reason, this is working for a lot of people. Yep. There's probably a reason why, and the science just hasn't caught up yet. So, I guess I'm having a brain fart here. Just because something doesn't say don't do it, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Yeah, exactly right. And it's just like, again, provided it's safe and falls into,
exactly.
Practice, and it's obviously used with good taste. Yeah, just fucking do it. There's no problems with it. But yeah, so I always laugh. People like, oh, evidence-based, this supports this. It's like everyone that was throwing around that stupid meta-analysis that Lane Norton posted about Brad Schoenfeld's speed of rep doesn't matter if it's provided it's inside this sort of time lapse. And it's like, man, you wouldn't know what have affected. Look at Brad Schoenfeld. Does he look like he fucking lifts? Like, fuck. Like, this does take place. Like, there is merit to this side of the factor. Like, when it comes to hypertrophy, who would you rather listen to? Someone like a John Meadows or a Scott Stevenson, who actually fucking train hard, or like Brad Schoenfeld, who doesn't look like he's lifted a weight in his life. Like, he's a very smart dude. He's fucking highly intelligent. I don't discredit that. But again, just referring back to some of these studies, you're like, bruh, like you're so far past the mark. It's just like, it's such a nuanced thing. And then you look at the study designs and you're like, oh, bruh, just shut the fuck up. And that's the one thing, guys, with research. If you're ever going to learn anything about research, if you can't replicate the study design, it's not fucking good research. Like,
and then you've also got the difference between like lab controlled training programs and modalities versus in the gym. Like if you have having someone who is completely controlled, manipulated for 12 straight weeks, given specific exercises, stimulated by a presence of a coach and someone watching them, and they know they're being watched. We know for a fact in psychology, when you are being watched, it changes your behavior versus you being free in the gym to do it and not having the same equipment, not having access to that much food, not having a controlled diet the exact same way that someone's modifying for you. Those results aren't exactly replicable, that you're like, oh, this study showed this, therefore I have to do this exact thing in the gym. You've got room there because those things aren't directly applicable to the gym.
Yeah, and just a cheeky plug, if you do want to learn more about that, you could either DM me or listen to my podcast with Dr. Scott Stevenson. Just saying.
Also works.
It's on the Elite Strength podcast. It was kind of a good chat. We went for like over an hour. I was fucking nerded out as shit. So enjoy that one. But then it's like when people say, oh, this rat study. I'm like, are you a fucking rat, bro? I mean, maybe you are, but like, just dude, shut up.
The amount of people that come into me and be like, oh, I heard about the data where you've got to do like 20 grams of creatine every single day for the first 2 weeks. And I'm like, bro, that was literally established in that. Like, sure. By all means, like there's maybe some credibility to it. If you're looking at powerlifting, you need to increase ATP in like the next 7 days. But generally that study was found, so those results were found in rats who genuinely have a faster metabolic rate than us. And you probably aren't a rat. So
yeah, my favorite to this day is still the metformin study that they did where they're like, oh, metformin inhibits AMPK. And it's like, they gave it to guys that were over 60 on 80 grams of protein who didn't train. It's like, and I think they were giving them 1,200 milligrams of metformin, maybe more, maybe two. Maybe it was 2,000 milligrams of metformin a day. It's like, are you over fucking 60, 80 years old? No. Do you only eat 80 grams of protein a day? No. Do you train? Yes. Well, then this study doesn't fucking apply to you.
It doesn't fit the context at all.
Like, again, and that's the thing with training. It's just like, there's not many studies that apply to this stuff, because you know how hard it is to get like fucking 15 bodybuilders to do what they're told. It's like, you really think you're going to be able to control their dieting, their fucking training, and, you know, everything other aspect it needs to be looked at for a study? There's no way. Like, honestly, like, people don't listen at the best of times.
Yeah.
Like,
and life is way too inflexible. You're not a pro bodybuilder who can regiment your life to the degree.
Yeah, unless they were a study turned around and said, hey, we're going to give you 10 grand for 10 weeks to sit with us in a lab, or to be bedded up in a dormitory somewhere at a university. You're going to be fed, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. All you need to do is participate for 10 weeks. You might have half a chance. Yeah. Good luck finding someone that's going to fucking back that study. Like,
I don't think they're gonna. Or have the
you know
funding.
what I mean? It's just be realistic when it comes to saying, oh, I've read the research. It's like, okay, have you though?
You read the abstract and the conclusion.
Yeah, exactly right. You didn't read the fucking research parameters, and you didn't. Never mind the actual what's at the bottom? The ethical response. Not the ethical response. What do they call it? The
the acknowledgement and like the biases.
Yeah, acknowledgements. It's just like, was there any conflicts? Was there any conflict of interest? Yeah. It's like, like, this supplement company paid for its supplement to be studied. There's probably a conflict of interest there, bro.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway. I'm pretty sure, not to drop names, but there was a cola-based beverage company who owned a sport-based beverage company who paid for the study to have about how ethical and great that sports-based product was.
Yeah, and a lot of the companies do it, obviously, so they can say that they can promote that they've had it studied. But then as soon as you get an independent, and for me, if you're going to look at a supplement, like, if you can get a supplement that's had a third-party independent study done on it and like to check its quality control and it passes, fucking go for it. It's probably a good chance that it's decent.
But before we ramble too much more, there was one other question before we jump into some Q&A. Because this one has been bugging me. This one we can talk on without too much more research, because we both have very strong opinions on it. Just because you can get lean doesn't mean you should do a show. So I am fed up with it, but at the same time, like, I understand it, because there's two parties involved in this. There's coaches who need to have the ethical consideration to say, look, you're going to look like a malnourished, like a starved Ethiopian at the moment if you get on stage without muscle tissue. You're just going to be skinny and lean. And also clients who need to understand that you can have a weight loss goal or a shred goal or a summer six-pack goal that doesn't require you to be a bodybuilding, like to be on stage. Because the amount of people I'm seeing who are being hyped up by or sensationalized by their coaches or the presence of Instagram, that they think they've done 6 weeks of training or not even 6 months of training, and they're going to start a prep. Literally saw someone talk about in 50 weeks, went from a deficit to a prep. So it wasn't even a surplus into a pre-prep stage, into a periodized prep program. They went from, I started with this coach, 20 weeks of that went into a prep that went for 28 weeks, which then got me to stage. And I was like, bruh, you aren't even, and mind you, natty, female, no base like skeletal muscle mass at all. And all of that led to them doing bikini shows. And I was like,
I mean, I guess let's try and look at this without too much emotion. But like, I can, it's interesting in that from a client's perspective, if the client turns around and says, hey, I want to do this in this amount of time. So it's like, if I've never trained, you're my coach, I come to you, and actually I'll probably flip this, be easier. If you're the client, I'm the coach, and you're like, hey, dude, I've never trained in my life. I've never done a diet, blah, 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 blah. But I want to try and do a bodybuilding physique. We'll call it competition. I didn't call it a bodybuilding comp. Like, I just call it like, we'll just say it's like a physique competition, whatever it is, right? And you're wanting to jump on stage and see what that feels like. Me as the coach, I have, a few different options. Do I take you on and say, yep, we can do that because you're the paying customer? Like that whole customer's always right type scenario. Or do I try and look at your best interests and then, after an assessment potentially and, maybe some months of training and stuff like that, or, dieting down and stuff, be like, hey, yeah, we probably could because you've got some natural structure, some natural muscle, whatever, or do I say, hey, how well do you want to do?
Yeah,
if you tell me, I just want to get on for the sake of getting on stage, just to feel what it's like, if you don't care about your placing and whatever, maybe, 12 months, sure. If it's something you just want to try, maybe. It's not a no or a yes, it could be sort of case dependent. If you're like, I want to place first, I'd be like, so we're probably going to need to do a bit more work.
Yeah.
So, and then you map it out and you explain it. And some clients don't want to hear that.
No,
some clients don't want to hear, hey, because in their head, they're like, fuck, 2 years of work. Does that mean I have to pay for 2 years worth of coaching? And, all these other factors that come into it, right? And as a client, I can probably understand that to a point. I mean, I can't because I'm an idiot. I just pay stupid amounts of money for stupid shit. That's just what I do. But I think I can empathize with it, if that makes sense. But then from the coaching perspective as well, it's like sometimes we don't want to say that because we're worried that the client doesn't want to come on. So in the past, I've been hesitant to be honest and be like, hey, look, what you want is what I want for you too. However, your timeline isn't probably realistic to the goal that's intended. It's like, hey, you want it in 12 months. It's probably going to be more 24 months.
Yep.
Not many people want to hear that their short-term goal is going to be longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, well, fuck.
But then that comes back to the whole point of the thing I was talking about with you that I want to send you guys is get started with, I think a lot of coaches are going to benefit from it, but having clients actually understand a goal they're setting and why they're setting it. Because why are you setting a 12, 24 week, 30 week goal of being on stage? Why are you so rushed to get on stage and experience that? And why do you think that's going to fix something, change something, have some sort of cool outcome? You're not going to have some existential life veil lifting moment because you've been on stage and you've done a 30-week cut where you feel like absolute shit. Chances are you're actually probably exposing yourself to more risk because you haven't really understood dieting before. You haven't understood training before. You haven't understood periodization. You don't understand true hunger. And so you're going to get to a point where you're like, this is where we start risking things like eating disorders because coaches are willing to just take on board anyone.
Well, I guess that's where the goal comes into mind and where it is that you want to, I guess that's where you want to place. You want to place first. Well, that's a higher risk. So like you just said, all those things, but if you just turn around and say, well, I just want to get on stage. Well, you don't have to get on stage being the most peeled or the most, the biggest. Well, so it's is the severity as bad as, you wanting to place first, for example?
Then on the flip side of that, you also, because then we start looking at things like social comparison theory and social comparisons in general, is that you're now exposing yourself not only to the insecurities that you haven't corrected because of the fact you've been overweight or perhaps you just want a recomposition. You're also then eliciting yourself to a natural comparison competition where you'll be judged and compared next to people. And everyone can say, I did it for me. Oh, this is for me, self-empowerment. But the name of the game is a competition. It's a physique competition. So whether you believe it or not, inherently you're going to compare next to other people that are being judged on who's better based on your weakest and worst body parts or body fat percentages. Mm-hmm. So if you're not in a position where you can handle that comparison, because you will get it whether you want it or not, whether you're, I just did it for me, I want to have fun. They have call-outs, they have placings, they have positions. You will be told. So if you can't handle that mentally you're not prepared for what happens after that, or, your coach isn't educated enough to understand with you what happens in the post-psychological phase, then as we've spoken about this before, and I will speak about a lot more as I start to obviously study it and break it down, but that's going to lead to some fucked up shit when all you just wanted to say was, I just want to get leaner to feel good in a bikini and go to the beach and have some good sex with my boyfriend or have good sex with my missus and not feel uncomfortable with my shirt off. Yeah, I wanted to be because there's pageantry shit elsewhere. By all means, there's pageantry stuff if you want to do it. But also there's gym challenges, there's other challenges that, or just generally a coach may just post you or promote you and be like, hey, look, my client did an epic job, lost 30 kilos or 20 kilos recomposition, went out a better baseline of food or whatever. That doesn't require you to be on stage and expose yourself to those other external factors that your coach probably isn't even educated on anyway, and you're probably not aware of, and they're going to be experiences you feel without education behind it, which, as I said before, is scary as fuck. If you don't know what it is or why it's happening or understanding it, you're going to freak the fuck out.
Yeah, look, dude, I completely agree, and I think that's where it comes in, the actual initial consult between client and coach, right? It's just like, what's your goal? What is it that you want? And then having an honest conversation and not being scared from either client or coach to hear what needs to be said. So, the coach can't be scared to say what, is probably in the best interest of the client, and the client also can't be scared to hear it.
Yeah.
That's kind of why they're coming to you, right? And it's like I've said many times on these podcasts, like I've had client consults where things just don't align, and I'm just like, cool, man, like nice to meet you. Like, you're an awesome dude. I have no hard feelings, but I can't work with you because what you want potentially is deemed unsafe on my end, and I don't feel comfortable doing that with what you want to do. I'm sure there's coaches that will, and good luck to you, and hopefully you don't fucking cark it. But hey, like what more can you do, right?
Yeah, and it's
like, as harsh as it is, man. Just like, at the end of the day, we work with adults. We don't work with kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though a lot of them come across probably as kids and seem like kids, myself included. I am a client, don't forget. So that's also directed at me. That's why when I speak to my coach, I feel sorry for him sometimes. Every now and then, I've been with him for 18 months, and I'm not usually one to hassle him, but every now and then I'll just, throw a spanner in the works and be like, dude, I'm going to do all this dumb shit so I can get leaner really fast. But how
many drugs can I take to do this in a week?
Yeah, literally. It's kind of like, but don't do what I do.
Learn from me.
Yeah, like,
no replicate.
This is not monkey see, monkey do. But yeah, I mean, it's just fuck. What can you do as a coach? You can do the best to your own integrity, and that's it. Like, no more, no less. Yeah,
I know. It's the hard one because, like, you get a lot of people wanting to feel that, and I 100% have Instagram to blame for it. Instagram, Facebook, all the social medias, like, they've glorified the idea of competing in a competition people are prepared for to enter. But it's not just like it's created an elite presence where, like, you watch the NRL, your first thought isn't, what, I'm going to go out and play NRL.
Yeah, right.
It's not like, oh, you know what, I'm not going to go out and play world-class NFL as a linebacker. Like, you're going to go, I like the sport, I'm interested in it, it's fun, I might go play some park version. But at the same time, like, the park version equivalent of this is just recomposition. It's just like sticking with your coach and following through the program. You don't need to get on stage to it. And it's 100% to blame for Instagram. Like, not 100%, but a large part of it is that whole, like, and I'm no better for it. Like, I post about it, but because I love it and I do it and I understand it, and I genuinely live the lifestyle regardless of whether it's competitions or not, right? Like, I would do it. But unfortunately, people don't. If you've only just seen body recomps for comp prep, you're not going to understand that, you can just recomp. You can just be off stage and get lean and be shredded or be jacked for the sake of it. If competing isn't, like, the experience is fun, but if the competing isn't for you, then don't do it.
That's exactly right. And it's like, if you're not competing to better yourself each time, maybe stop competing. People don't want to hear that. It's honestly, it's client consults that I have all the time. It's just like, fuck, man. Like, there's always another competition. Like, what's the biggest deal of doing this next one and the one after that? Why don't you skip 2 or 3 and do the one after that? And it's like, because it's a prolonged period of time. People that, like, they're too scared to, look at the long term. And it's like, well, you got to be smart about this. Like, your health comes first, right?
Delayed gratification. Like, that's one of the number one things you build from bodybuilding. If you genuinely appreciate it, is delayed gratification. What this thing that I'm going to do is so far away from actually giving me some sort of, like, emotional response that if you don't actually enjoy the whole process, there's no fun in doing it.
Agreed.
But I mean, hey, we could ramble for about 30 different hours on that, but we have been going for about an hour odd now. So jump into some questions. Seems that the big dog forgot to ask.
Sorry, I've been very, very busy when it comes to this seminar that I keep trying to prepare for, and then
one of us want to hear from you guys. One of us don't. It's fine.
I'm sorry, I'm just not as popular.
Right, we got a few conversation ones. That's good. All right, we'll start off with
It should be interesting.
We'll start off with a marry one, kill one, fuck one.
Go on. What do we got?
We got Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, Jesus.
Donatella Versace, the sister to the owner of Versace.
Yeah.
And Nicki Minaj.
Oh, fuck. All right. I got this. I'm going to marry Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah, rich.
Like, if she's still with Porsche, I can live with that.
I'm open. It's 2021.
I'm open to that. I'd probably... Donatella's old, so I'd have to kill her and fuck Nicki Minaj. Yeah.
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 I mean,
I'm thinking about it. I'm like, could I switch those two? Because I really would want to kill Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, I just really don't like her. I mean,
yeah, me either. But then I'm like, which one would I rather be with? I was like, I definitely don't want to sleep with Alan.
yeah, if it's a gun to my head, I'm not going to enjoy either one. I guess it's just a gun to your head. It has to happen. I'm killing Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, see, I feel like I'd rather sleep with Nicki Minaj because I feel like from what she sings about, like, hopefully she has some sort of inkling.
Turns out she's the most bland female ever. Like,
you can't be talking like that and just be a starfish. Like, sorry.
She is. Oh, the old projection of insecurity.
Oh, just, I mean, yeah, like, hey, we'll see. Ask Drake.
All right. What do you find most people get defensive about with their diet and training?
Told that they're doing it poorly.
I was going to say, yeah, just recognizing that I'm doing it well.
Yeah, just thinking they actually know what they're doing. I guess really, obviously, no one wants to be told they're doing something wrong, right? Especially if they're getting results and doing it right. And say that whether it's right or wrong, if they're getting results, then it's probably on the right track. It's just whether it's efficient or optimal and done in a more healthy way, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of people don't like being pointed out their flaws or like their hiccups. And it kind of depends on how you approach it too. Like if you're a client-centric coach, you wouldn't really come out and be like, you suck at this. This is fucking shit. What are you doing? Which we know a lot of coaches tend to do because, robots is the way to be apparently. But generally, if you approach something with the understanding of like, look, your data says these 3 days you didn't sleep very well. Your weight went up and also you ate pretty poorly. So I'm guessing something stressful happened. Do you want to know what that is?
Yeah, and that's why we track everything.
Yeah, it's pretty understandable then to go, look, this happened. But another big one I think is like people that think they train hard, and I'm a sucker for this too. There's some days where and I've noticed in the last probably 6 months of where I was working, my presence in my training session sucked. And so I would have to constantly bring myself back and be like, you're here to train. Like, stop being stressed about work, stop being focused elsewhere. And so there's RPEs and those RIRs that actually aren't, 1 to 2 or, a 9 or an 8. Turns out are probably a 6 or a 7. But you're perceiving exhaustion far earlier than you should be. So people being called out on, say, like, you felt like you did an RPE of 9 on a bench press or an incline press or a shoulder press or a squat. Really, it was like a 6. And if someone's got a gun to your head and says, look, I'm shooting your parents if you do not get up an extra 3 reps, then, you probably are going to get those reps up. But to you, you're like, oh, no, that felt like that was it. I feel like a lot of people kind of suck at that. It's
totally fair. I get it. I'm with you.
Ooh.
Never a good one.
Would you rather have to sleep in a bed full of spiders every night or have diarrhea constantly?
I'll sleep in a bed with spiders every night. I'm not scared of spiders. There wasn't any context on the spider, so.
I mean, you just got a variety of like a mixture of like fucked up spiders.
Man, if I'm not going to get bitten and die, I'm good.
Well, I mean, it's not in the context, but it's also not impossible.
Well, I mean, I probably have more chance of dying from diarrhea every day than I probably would like from the dehydration than I would from friggin'.
I just thought that was most coaching practices.
That's the TAVI protocol.
it's most the Gold Coast coaches' way of getting dried out before a show.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just the TAVI protocol. It's special. You just constant bloat, like fucking diarrhea for a week before show, and off you go, mate. You're on stage. Eat carbs.
Undercook your chicken. Let it sit there for 2 days. Then eat it. Don't heat it.
Mate, you're gonna have a good time. Yeah, I'd probably take spiders still. Yeah.
I mean, my brother, like when my brother was 12, he carked it from a redback bite for like a minute, and that just instantly just like.
Yeah, I can completely understand. But like I said, the question wasn't specific to spiders. What spiders? So I'm in my head, I'm thinking like daddy long legs.
You ever seen my head? I'm picturing those, those phone, like those power boxes where you open the power box. There's just an army of huntsmen just staring at you, and they've got 20 different eyes.
Yeah, that's okay. Huntsmen don't do anything.
Yeah, but
like, if they bite, don't get me wrong. If they bite you, they fucking hurt. But they're not poisonous and they're not going to kill you.
I'll tell you this. Okay, there's one that I always picture every time I think of spiders. I'm always going to come across. I don't know why, but actually I know why. When I was 12 years old, we're at a mate's house and like we all lived out on property, and his property was like in the sticks property, like his was further out the mine, and we were playing like 1, 2, 3 home, but in the middle of this bush that was like proper bush, and I think it was whatever the game was, like 1, 2, 3 or something, get to the point before someone else catches you or some shit without being seen. And we realized that the guy was left the mark. He wasn't where he's supposed to be. It's like, fuck, free home. Like everyone's got a free chance of getting in. Sprinting through this bush. And all of a sudden a mate in front of me just trips under himself and I see his hat floating. And I'm like, what the fuck is there a hat floating in the air? And I run to and stop. And there is this gigantic, like, it's not a funnel web. It's one of those like rat spiders. It's like big and yellow and black. And we all know that when you see shit that's yellow and black,
it's golden orb.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Fucking, they don't do anything.
I don't know that though. I'm 12 and I see this giant spider web that's holding a hat. It's that strong as holding a hat. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not going this way. I quit.
That's fair. It's the same, like the opposite. Like I watched Arachnophobia and thought it was funny. Yeah, I've got problems, bro. I've never not said this.
You're a weird dude. Okay. Oh, here's an interesting one from I don't know how to explain this one. Why don't lactose intolerant people take their lactose intolerance more seriously? Like, how many people are just like, I'm lactose intolerant, but I really want that cheesecake?
Because lactose tastes fucking great. Like
those lactose-based products are pretty good.
It's like Brooklyn Nine-Nine when Scully Scully and Boyle.
Scully, they're trapped in the thing. He's like, guess what we have for lunch? I had a cheesecake and I had a slice of cheesecake and I had extra cheese on it. This thing's going to be a Dutch oven.
The one where Rose is trying to work out who kept taking her yogurt or whatever it was. Oh, no, her yogurt, or whatever meal it was. And then she buys him a pizza. And she's like, it's you guys because you're lactose intolerant. And he's like, yeah, but it's worth the risk. And they're eating the cheese pizza. It's like, fucking oath. Like, and then they go to the toilet and they're like, all right, we're going to the bathroom now. It's like literally like that, man. It's like, well, fucking, like, I couldn't imagine anything worse than being lactose intolerant. It's like, because it's not even your choice. It's like, being a vegetarian or a vegan usually is by choice. Yeah. Why you choose that? I mean, let's not get into that one. But, like, an actual genuine intolerance to lactose would suck because you don't have a choice.
That's fair. I agree. Yeah. Okay, I got a question on that then. How do you feel about there's been I've noticed a large push as of late of people explaining and pushing plant-based dieting, but also including meats.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Like it's not right. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying like
So if you were to look at if you were to look at a composition of diet and what is the most optimal for human health, not including performance, and when I say performance, I mean sort of that extreme side of performance, like heavy lifting, whether it be marathon running, all that sort of stuff. A more plant-based diet with small increments of red meat are probably going to be healthier for you long-term. This is to take out the fact that you want to get jacked or you want to get really lean or you want to run far or run fast, like all this sort of stuff. This is just if you were to live everyday life. Like there's no question that's the better diet or dietary practice for you from a health sense. You're covering all bases, protein, micronutrients, macronutrients, you're covering everything. But most of the people that we associate with and work with have other aspiring goals, whether it be bodybuilding, powerlifting, strongman, whether it be marathon running. Not that I know any marathon runners, sprinters, like, track and field, like swimming, like all this other shit. They require different amounts of energy and energy coming from different macros. So they require different amounts of intakes. So your diet would then have to change to be accustomed to that, to comply with that. Yeah,
fair. I also see like for some, the way I see it kind of not pushed, but also encouraged, the sheer volume of food you have to eat is just going to be uncomfortable because it's not even like an enjoyable amount of food. Like you can only make so much fibrous greens enjoyable that you're going to cause bloating and like having that much difference of fiber and increase in fiber. Like there's a reason why we find processed foods beneficial as well, because of the simplicity and easy to consume and easy to digest and process through. When you just go to when you go from say that level of dieting where you just have a mixture of everything, it's maybe like 70-30, 80-20, and then you just push 95 and 5 of plant-based, plant-centric, that level of food. It's a lot of veg and salad to get in that's going to just make it uncomfortable.
definitely. Yeah, 100%. But in terms of like the question, yeah, like the plant-based with mixtures of meat in there, just not as often, is probably the most optimal for health if you're not doing anything irregular, i.e. having a goal.
Wanting to live with any sort of purpose.
Pretty much. No. Yeah. So from a health perspective, but yeah.
All right, one final one. How have you mastered telling a new client that their goal timeline may be unrealistic for what they actually want to achieve? This is a bit continuing on from what we just talked about before, but
literally what we just spoke about. I mean, at the end of the day, it's client focused first. Like personally for me, my whole goal is to make the client healthy and happy.
Mm-hmm.
If their goal is something that can be achieved at some point, I'll give them what I think is a realistic timeline with my capabilities. If they're not happy with that, well, then it's like, hey, like, I'm sorry, but this is the best of my knowledge. And it's like, this is all I can do. I can't go outside myself any more than I have, or that I, have already, that I could go outside myself more. So like, that's it. Like, I'm capped. Like, what do you want? Like, if you don't like it, ciao.
I mean, I'm the first person to say push for extreme goals. Like have absolutely high, hard goals that you are going to require utmost levels of focus to achieve. But you also have to understand what's achievable in a certain timeline, and are you willing to make the commitments in order to achieve that? Because the second you slip on one of those two, it's going to affect the reality of achieving that goal. So I'm all for it. You say you tell me that you're going to commit to 6 sessions a week, doing X amount of cardio, hitting every macronutrient that is assigned to you, sticking to all of the overloads and progressions, backing off when I tell you to, sleeping as much as I tell you to. If you're willing to do all those things and nothing else matters, fucking sweet. Then I'm going to say, look, we're going to get you there. That's going to happen. It's just a matter of time and like how big you want to be or how hard you want to lift or what have you. But if you start saying this is my goal and this is the thing, but also I want to see friends and I want to have a good relationship and I want us to go out with family and I want to have all these functional dinners with family nights and Sundays and all sort of stuff. And, I might not get home until 11, 12 o'clock at night, but if I'll be up for work at 6 or 7, and it's like, bruh, what you're saying versus what you're willing to contribute there's what's the word? God, I'm an absolute mind blank. English good. Point is, there is a discrepancy between what is going to be achieved and what you think you want based on what you're able to put in. And that's where I find the difference of actually explaining it. When you sort of not so much graph it, but it's sort of visually graph it for them and say, look, this is what's going to happen based on what you're willing to give me. Here's what you need to give me to get what you want. It's like a bit easy to understand. But like I said, I'm the first person to say, go for a hard goal, set the fuck out of it. Actually want it to be for the person that you are and the things you want, by all means. But if you're looking at it and going, I really want that. It looks cool, but also I'll give you 50%. It's not gonna happen.
I completely agree, dude. It's just that straightforward. And hey, if you don't like what I've said and I've been as honest as possible, it just shows you that I'm willing to risk not taking your money.
Yeah.
It's like I'm in a position where I'm not telling you what you want to hear because what you want to hear would bring me my income.
Yep.
But I kind of care that, we want to do this as safely as possible. And I'm not trying to prolong your goal so I make more money because I risk not even getting a cent of your money. Yes. So that's probably got to come into consideration at some point that, I'm genuinely just looking out for you. And this is what my advice would be.
Yeah. And generally being the person with the experience in that realm of, hey, this is how long body composition generally takes, or usually you should probably be able to consider it taking, and then being like, no, that's too long. Like you're going to a coach for a reason. Chances are that coach has probably the somewhat experience of understanding of how long it should take.
Yep, exactly right.
But that's all the questions I got, dude.
Very good. I will absolutely put questions up for next week.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I care what you have to say and want to hear and want to know about.
What can we do to stir Ben up next week?
Mate, I've already been stirred. I'm always stirred. That's my secret of podcasting. I'm always stirred.
I'm always angry. Yes. Oh, man. So what do you got coming out? You're coaching now?
Yeah, so look, I'm about to go on holidays, I believe, from work, and then I'll be opening up the spots as I need to. I've got a few systems I've got to integrate into the website to make sure it's all like functioning, everything's working, and me and Brooklyn are going to work on that. But yeah, we're getting straight into coaching, and was going to clarify on Instagram today, but just for anyone who is listening, it's not just recomposition coaching. I'm trying to find a word for this. Is cliche as life coaching, but at the same time, psychological strategies, acceptance therapy, behavior modifications, stuff that I can do without a psychology degree, I can do through external courses that I've done. So there is a lot outside of training and nutrition that we can work on to improve life stress management, behavioral management, all that sort of stuff. So, just
did we rip into life coaching in episode 1?
I believe so, yes. It's why I've avoided using the term. I'm like, I can't be a hypocrite and use the term and also rip on people who use the term.
It's been 9 episodes.
At the same time,
we've got our first hypocrite. And I'm kidding.
For the first time, we ripped on the fact they're not educated to be those coaches. I somewhat am.
I am stirring. It's just fun.
Fucking emotions. Yes, that's ready to go. Expressions of interest are on the website. The link is on the Instagram, and I'll be moving with that pretty quickly because I'm excited to get rolling with it.
Sounds like a good plan, my friend.
And you've got your seminar tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow lunchtime. I've got the Elite Strength Protocol being dropped in 2 weeks, I think, if I get my timing right. That's it. To be honest, then I got to get away for a working holiday so I can work on my mentorship for next year, which should be fun.
Queenslander, mate, get up here.
Yeah, but I won't work if I come up there. There's a difference.
We'll train. As a form of
We'll train, sit on a beach, get tanned, get jacked, and that's about it. Actually, hey, I'll do that. I'm coming to Queensland. Fuck a working holiday.
Just sold the shit out of it. Sign me up.
Like, what more do I want? Anyway.
No, mate. I reckon the work that would get done up here would be insane. Between the parents,
I'd literally be dropping modafinil. Like I'd be getting up at like 6. Modafinil, caffeine, some tyrosine.
As we said, when you're working on it for yourself, mate, it's worth the.
Just work, nut up or shut up, and work for 5 hours. Go gym, come back, eat food, drink coffee, work for another 5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a good time to me. I don't know what everyone's complaining about.
Chucking on my red speedo. Here we go. No. All right,
yeah, my dude. I have to jump to we've got training, and I've got some consult calls now, actually. So I get to say that now.
Nice, beautiful. I'm going to move into my check-ins. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, as always. And
finally got some emotions out of Scaffy.
And hit us up if you do have actually any questions or any topics you want us to chat about. Au revoir.
Later, guys.